our hearts be acceptable to Thee, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Please be seated. So, how many of you have heard of the rapture, where one will be taken from the field, and where God comes to judge, and God is angry, and one will be taken, and one will be swished away? It kind of scares one, that version of the second coming of Christ, and would be a horror to the early Christians who found in these readings comfort and joy, knowing that as baptized members of the body of Christ, we are ready for Jesus to come. We know that the way He's coming in Christmas in 4+ weeks is a little easier to take as a baby than the coming of the end of the time, the end of all that we know it, when He comes to end all things. But we needn't be afraid, because we are taught by Jesus on the Mount of Olives, where He's going to pray and be close to God, that all we need to do is live our lives in faith. And if we're living our lives in faith, we're okay. We are prepared. We have a community in order that we prepare. So we're not the only one. And this experience we have of losing people just like that is something that we're all very used to. When Mary Bendis died, I had no preparation, neither did any of you. No preparation. So it felt like I was a woman out there working in the fields and somebody just took her away from me. It felt personal. And when we feel like we're being judged, how many of us were taught that we are always judged with overpowering love? Did any of you get taught that? Most of us did not get taught that. It was judged that you were a bad girl, and God's going to get you. That is a perversion of our faith. It's not true. Jesus always comes with love in order to teach more love, in order to blow us away with more love. So I was a very anxious teenager. I had an anxiety disorder, probably, but we didn't know that in those days. So I thought the end of the world was coming every day when I woke up, because the idea of going back to the high school where the day before I had to go home because I was having a panic attack was terrifying to me. And indeed, I would go to high school and try as hard as I could to be normal. And before I knew it, I was feeling like my head was about to split off my body, and I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink, and I couldn't think, and I thought I couldn't breathe anymore. By the time I made it to the nurse's station, I worked up such a feverish pitch of my body not being my own that she'd take my temperature and I had a fever. So I went home, and I was in this cycle through my whole junior year. Needless to say, I lost a lot of time in school, and my judgment of what was happening was there's something wrong with me, seriously wrong with me. Anxiety disorder is normal for teenagers. But I didn't know until I went to a doctor. Finally, my parents took me to a physician who said, here's a paper bag, you need to breathe in this and you'll be fine. Go home. And believe it or not, it was good for me. I breathed in the paper bag, and what you breathe in is moist air, so I didn't choke on the air. I actually was able to breathe in this air, and it calmed me down. So it was like my own little Valium that I had in the paper bag. And off to college I went. Unfortunately, anxiety doesn't go away just with a paper bag. So my predisposition to think the world is coming to an end every day didn't go anywhere. I went away to school almost 2,000 miles away from, it wasn't that far. How long was California? It was that far. I was up in Northern California. They were down in Orange County, Southern California. And the idea of starting a new life in college was more terrifying than high school. Who would know? So I was anxious every single day. And on top of that, I thought I'd lost my belief in God. Everything happens when you're a teenager, right? So my upbringing had not prepared me for adolescence when you start asking, what if this isn't true? They lied about Santa Claus. How do we know that we're going to heaven? How do we know that when Jesus comes? Surely I won't get in because I don't do anything that other people do. I'm always the exception. They're all beautiful. I'm full of pimples. They can all sit through class. I have a panic attack and have to leave every single day. I was sure I was going to get left behind, and they haven't even written the books about the rapture yet. Lucky for me, God didn't abandon me. I happened to make friends with people who were Roman Catholic, who were Jewish. Everybody went to their church or their synagogue. So I was busy going to church and synagogue and other places. Especially the Roman Catholic had a group in college. What is it called? The club, something club. Do you remember, Bill?
Newman Club.
The Newman Club. Thank you. I went to the Newman Club all the time and hung out with the good Catholic kids, and that became my group. So anyway, I eventually figured things out. But the point is that all of us are reduced to being anxious adolescents when we talk about the end times. How many of you understand them? What? It sounds like we should be very scared. I can't have my candle lit all the time. I can't always be ready. I'm always caught unawares. Take heart. It doesn't mean that. It means, is your faith alive? When you go to sleep at night, do you believe you'll wake up and still believe? Then you're okay. Do you wake up in the night and pray sometimes? You're okay. Do you pray when you're in the trenches and you think, oh my God, this is a trench prayer, get me out of this mess and I'll be a Christian forever? It's okay. That's okay too. What if you're afraid you don't understand? It's okay. God comes always in order to blow sweet wisdom into our ears, in order to give us a big grandma hug, in order to teach us that all that garbage about being afraid of God is just that. That God is unbounded, tender, loving care. Hesed is the Jewish word for it. Hesed, steadfast, abiding love. And we look with joy towards the coming of Christ as a baby and the coming of Christ at the end of times, because we will all be gathered up in a big grandma hug and taken where we already are residents, which is in heaven. Amen.